So these were Osama's words in November 2001. You know, I would agree with what Newt Gingrich said in his article, that this is the greatest threat to the United States ever and the history of this country that comes from Islamic imperialism or Islamic fundamentalism. Now here, this is a picture I took myself in Ghana in West Africa. Ghana is not an Islamic country. Only 14.5% of the people in Ghana are Muslims, and most of them are in the north. This picture was taken right on the southern coast. And here's a picture of Osama bin Laden and a couple of other people for sale at the side of the road. And there were quite a few pictures for sale. And I asked one of my friends there, I said, well, you know, why do they have so many pictures of him for sale? And his response was that people believe that America is trying to take over the world and Osama bin Laden will stop them. So he even has support and sympathy from people who are not Muslims because they see him in that light. Now here's a quote from another book called Sea of Faith on Islam and Christianity in the Medieval Mediterranean World by Stephen O'Shea, and it's a comment made about the first battle between Muslims and the city of Mecca in 624. This is when Mecca fell to the Muslims. Far outnumbered, the Muslims nevertheless won a resounding victory. We see this, by the way, a number of times in history. Even though they're outnumbered, they win. Many had been emboldened by the Prophet's guarantee of instant admission to paradise for anyone slain in the service of Islam, an incentive destined to have a long and violent posterity. Even today, this is a factor. People believe that if they die fighting in jihad, in holy war, they will immediately go to heaven and receive 72 virgins. So they have this incredible incentive. After I said this at one World News and Prophecy seminar, an old lady came up afterwards. She had been married to a Muslim, and she said, you know, it's a mistranslation from the Quran. That's not what it says. It says that when you die and go to heaven, you get one 72-year-old virgin. I said, if only we could convince them, it would put a stop to all this violence everywhere. Here is a map that shows the spread of Islam in the 7th century. Now remember, Muhammad died in 632. And, you know, this, the green part here, if you can see this is Medina, where it all started, Mecca, that was conquered in 624. And so, you know, the religion started just here, amongst the Arab peoples. The Arab peoples had never amounted to anything previously. I might just read to you a scripture here that will help you to understand something here. You know, Muhammad believed, and the people believed, that they are descended from Ishmael, one of the two sons of Abraham. And here's a prophecy regarding Ishmael in Genesis 16 in verse 12. It says, he shall be a wild man, his hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. His brethren, of course, are the descendants of Isaac, the other son of Abraham. And, you know, that includes America, Britain, and so on. And, of course, a lot of the Islamic, the followers of Islam from the Arab world are in these countries today. So exactly as was prophesied here, he shall dwell in the presence of all of his brethren. But the Arabs had a reputation for being rather wild. And in fact, they were very tribalistic, or their society was based on clans, and they were always in conflict with each other. Then along comes Muhammad and this new religion, and eventually it conquers the whole of Arabia, this whole peninsula here. And look how far it spread by the year 700. This was the old Persian Empire here that was conquered by the Arabs. Eventually the Byzantine Empire also fell, the Eastern Roman Empire here. But this is how fast Islam spread. The point of the book Islamic Imperialism is that this is an expansionist religion that believes that ultimately the whole world must be Islamic. And whenever demands are issued by Al-Qaeda and other organizations upon the United States and other Western nations, the first demand is always that we all convert to Islam. Specifically, President Bush convert and others convert to Islam. This is the drive to spread Islam. And that's how far it spread in the first century. There's another quote here. Now this is when the Arabs invaded Egypt, which was ruled by the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire was the Eastern Roman Empire. And in the first century of Islam, this is what the leaders wrote back to their capital in Constantinople regarding the Arab invaders, the Muslim invaders. We have seen a people who love death more than life, and to whom this world holds not the slightest attraction. You could say exactly the same thing today. People who love death more than life, suicide bombers, and to whom this world holds not the slightest attraction. 7th century, Byzantine officials in Egypt. Here's another good quote. I think this one is a few hundred years later. Again, it comes from the book Islamic Imperialism. From the 14th century Muslim historian and sociologist Abdul Rahman ibn Khaldun. When people possess the right insight into their affairs, nothing can withstand them, because their outlook is one, and they share a unity of purpose for which they are willing to die. There's an incredible zeal which is lacking in the Western world today. One book I've been reading, which deals with all the battles between Islam and Christianity in the first few centuries, looks at the first major battle, the Battle of Yarmouk in 636. And the Byzantines had 4 times as many men as the Muslims. But the Muslims won. The Byzantines thought they were going to battle again against Arabs that they had fought many times before. And they didn't think there'd be any problem. But the new religion of Islam had made an incredible difference to the people. And they were defeated. The Byzantines were defeated, and the following year Jerusalem was taken over by Islamic forces. Now look at this. It took 21 years for the line of conquest to go from Gibraltar to Poitiers. I showed you the map up to the year 700. After 700, the Muslims looked to Europe, and in 711, they invaded Europe. They arrived in Gibraltar. They conquered the whole of Spain. They got up right through Spain. And then they got into France, almost to the gates of Paris, in 21 years. And they were defeated by the French at the Battle of Poitiers, which is sometimes called the Battle of Tours, T-O-U-R-S, in 732 by Charles Martel, who was the grandfather of Charlemagne. Charles Martel's dynasty then ruled the country, and in 800 the Pope crowned Charlemagne as the Holy Roman Emperor. Now again, this seems like ancient history, but you know Charlemagne is the inspiration today for the European Union. So you know this is recent history to most Europeans. And I think one disadvantage we have in dealing with this problem of resurgent Islam is that we don't take history seriously. Not the rest of the world, I shouldn't say that, but the people in the Middle East do take it seriously. It's very much a part of their thinking as they grow up. And so we need to learn some of these things and learn them fast, because we're up against this major threat. It took 21 years for the line of conquest to go from Gibraltar to Poitiers, a very fast-growing religion. Here you see the advance that was made. This takes us right up to the middle of the 8th century AD. You see how much further Islam had gotten into Europe by this particular time. Islamic expansion right into different areas in southeastern Europe as well. Here we see the Islamic Caliphate. The whole world, the dream was always that the whole world should be united under one caliph, one king, one leader of the Islamic world. And this is what we see here.